Hey guys, I thought I'd do a little demonstration of gun safety, how to carry a gun safely. Um, Probably see you see it in the news all the time. You know, a lot of times it's a pro athlete got a gun in his sweatpants and he's out at a bar and the gun goes off. Um, Another story was some guy had a gun in his cowboy boot at a basketball game, and it I think he scratched his leg, and the gun went off, shot through the boot, shot into a lady next to him. So when my friends hear about this, they always say, well, they you know, guy did two things wrong. He carried a loaded gun and he didn't have safety on. And although for those types of people that would probably be true, they don't need to carry a gun loaded because they're not trained in how to do it, and they're not using a proper holster to keep the gun safe. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that you can carry a gun safely, loaded, ready to go, without fear of it going off. And the example I always use is, look at your police department. They're carrying a gun with a bullet in the chamber. Most of the time, no safeties. Most of your Glocks don't have safeties at all, and that's widely used in the police department. And Smith and Wesson M&P series started out. They had optional safeties, but then on a lot of their models, police models, they've gone away from the safeties altogether. So you got a bullet in the chamber and no safety. So if you pull the trigger, the gun's going to shoot. So, and you can see on this gun, I don't know if you can see, it's got a little observation hole in the top of it right there. And you can see that there's a bullet in there. This is off my wife's nightstand. So she keeps it loaded, ready to go, next to the bed. So to make this gun safe, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the magazine. Now we still have one in the chamber. I'll take that out. I'll lock it open, show you that it's empty. Just slide it forward. Pull the trigger in my backyard here, just to show you that it's empty. So how do you carry a gun safely, loaded? I'll demonstrate here without anything in it first. The main thing is you want to have a holster that covers up your trigger guard and covers your trigger. This holster is made by Phobos. Great holster, inexpensive. They're Kydex or some type of polymer material, hard plastic. You can see there's like a positive detent when you slide it in. That gun's in there. You also see, if I've got this gun, so I had pants big enough to put this in my pocket, I can't pull the trigger. There's nothing I can do to make the trigger pull. And when you first start carrying your gun, before you really get accustomed to carrying a loaded gun, you're going to be nervous about it. I was, my wife was, and I read a good article one time that says, if you're nervous about carrying your gun loaded, you're afraid that the trigger may somehow get pulled and the gun may discharge. Just do this test. Cock your gun. Okay, so that trigger's live right now. Now, put it in your holster and carry it. Carry it for a week. Carry it for 2 weeks. See how many times that trigger went off. But I'll guarantee you could pull that thing out and that trigger's still charged. As long as you have it in that holster, it didn't go off. Now I'll show you some different holsters. This is one I really like. This is an inside the waistband holster that I carry in the small of my back. I use my little M&P Shield 9mm. This again is not plastic. It does not have that positive detent, but what they do is they make a tight fit. And then you also, once again, you've got the trigger guard covered up and the trigger covered up. So that trigger's charged. Let me try to pull the trigger. Can't do it. Can't do it. So the other aspect of safety is just following all the general safety rules. So the first thing is you would never cover anything with your muzzle unless you're intending to shoot it. So that's whether a gun's loaded or empty. You don't point it at someone unless you're intending on pulling the trigger. Second thing is, just because the gun's out of the holster, you don't have to put, notice where my finger is, you don't have to put your finger on the trigger. Once again, another rule, you don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire the gun. So if I'm at the range and I'm working with an instructor and he's got me in a ready position, tells me to pull out my gun and get in a ready position, I'm like this. I'm not like this. I'm like this until he tells me to get ready to fire. Then you're ready to fire. You put your finger on the trigger. So don't cover anything with the muzzle unless you're ready to shoot at it. Don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to pull it. The other thing is, know what your backdrop is. If I'm going to shoot at something there, what's behind there? If you're in a defensive situation and you're having to use your gun against a bad guy, don't take the shot if you don't know what's behind there, because if you hit something and you hurt somebody behind the bad guy, you're liable for that, and plus you don't want to live with that. So third holster I wanted to show you is one that's an outside the waistband holster that I like because it's comfortable. I'm wearing it here. It's a leather holster. They also make these in Kydex or plastic polymers. It's got a positive snap on it. Again, trigger's covered up, can't pull it. And you want to come out, snap off, pull the gun up. Finger not on the trigger. What happens if I pull the gun up and my finger's on the trigger and I accidentally pull the trigger? I just shot myself in the side. That actually happened to my nephew when he was probably 8 or 9 years old. So again, pull it out, finger off the trigger, go forward. If you're ready to shoot, now you can put your finger on the trigger. So that's it, folks. I just wanted to go over a few things about how you can carry a loaded weapon safely. I'm going to go ahead and charge this because this is on my nightstand. So charge it right there to get that last bullet in that I took out earlier. I'll put that in. Now I've got one in here. The gun is cocked, so you don't want to ever have your finger on the trigger. And then I'm going to slide it back in a holster. Now the gun's safe, it can't go off. These guns have drop safeties. Even if I drop it on the ground, it won't go off. See you later.